right, well, good evening, everybody. I appreciate you being here tonight. If we could start tonight's public hearing, please, by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, I would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So our public hearing tonight is actually going to be on the student code of conduct. The extracurricular code of conduct does not have any changes to it. And the Title I and IDEA hearing will take place in September. So starting with the student code of conduct, I'll start with Valley Elementary. Valley Elementary did not have any changes to their code of conduct with the exception of changing ROAR, which was their what would I call that? Their acronym, thank you, to PRIDE. So productive, respectful, integrity, determined, and excellence. It matches the other buildings. So that was the only change for Valley. For Gorham, you're going to start hearing a common theme for any of the behavioral pieces that take place in the code of conduct. You're going to hear that we've added language under violations that if one child tries to intentionally make another child sick, so you think about spitting and things like that, we've added that to the code of conduct as well. So category 1 offense, violation of school procedures, not following the expectations of a class, and we had that in there because the class expectations are going to change a lot. And they could change by the week, they could change by the day. And so we kind of want to put a blanket statement in there that whatever those procedures are, they need to be followed. Aggressive horseplay is something that's interesting. It's relatively new for codes of conduct. It's pushing, shoving, wrestling, and or any other physical action that is potentially dangerous in nature, but not done in anger. That's the important distinction between that. So it's kids messing around as opposed to having it being with intent. And then a minor in category 3, there's minor altercation or assault. The change we made there, and you'll hear this in every code of conduct moving up the ladder. Any intentional personal contact that may put another student at risk of sickness or injury. That's kind of the adjustment to COVID there. And then we've also got reckless endangerment in the 2nd degree. We added the 2 words injury/sickness to there as well. And then under category 4, reckless endangerment 1st degree, we added injury and sickness under the reckless endangerment piece. And then assault 1st degree, we checked with the school attorney on that, and they actually advised that we include the word spitting in as an assault 1st degree because of the spread of COVID through saliva. So that was that. And then the last piece we had was any physical violence directed at a staff member and any intentional personal contact that may put another student at risk of, again, of sickness or injury. You're going to hear it a lot. Okay? That's just a common piece. So those are the only changes for Gorham. And then obviously as you move up in level, they get a little more complex because there's more rules. So for the middle school, it's the same as what I told you before. Category 1, same as Gorham. Violation of school procedures was added. The aggressive horseplay was added. And the minor altercation or assault, we added that piece in the middle school as well. The any intentional personal contact that may put another student at risk of sickness or injury. The next one, reckless endangerment 2nd degree, we added injury or sickness just like Gorham. And again, like Gorham, reckless endangerment 1st degree, we added injury or sickness. Assault 1st degree, we added spitting, as well as the any intentional personal contact that may put another student at risk of sickness or injury. That's the middle school. And then lastly, or if I was Yolanda Vega, and the last, it's going to sound similar. But at the high school, the middle school already had this piece in here. about falsely reporting an incident third degree. It's something that the middle school had put in last year, and the high school saw how that worked. It was pretty successful in stopping some of the tattletaling that resulted in nothing because somebody made it up. And so the high school has added the falsely reporting of an incident third degree, making an accusation against a student or staff member where the person making the accusation does so knowing that the accusation is false. The degree correlates with level of offense or infraction. And then most of the rest of this is going to sound similar. So the minor altercation or assault, any intentional personal contact that may put another student at risk of sickness or injury. Falsely reporting an incident second degree is the making an accusation against a student or staff member where the person making the accusation does so knowingly that the accusation is false. The degree correlates with level of offense, which is why it's in second degree also. Category 4, we've got reckless endangerment first degree. We added injury and sickness. The assault first degree added spitting. And we also added the any intentional personal contact that puts another student at risk of sickness or injury. And then, I'm trying to go through this as quickly as I can, so I apologize. Then falsely reporting an incident first degree, making an accusation, like you had heard before. Again, just in what classification it's in. Let's see. There's an addition for the high school that's not in any other building, has to do with cell phone and electronic devices. It's during academic classes and structured study halls. Students will put phones in designated locations in classrooms. Currently, that's bins. That's the way it was in the spring too. Or the phones may remain in the possession of the students but cannot be seen, heard, or used. That's what we did as a trial in the spring. It was fine, and we're just adding it to our code of conduct now. And that's the last change for the high school. So, are there any questions on any of them? Sue?
Why is the cell phone one only in high school?
Well, it's a good question. Right now, we felt that the high school students were a little more mature and able to handle using cell phones appropriately in hallways and in other areas. And in talking to Clay and some of his teachers, when we had committee work on that, they just felt that the students weren't quite ready for that. The students do have all their own devices provided by the district at the middle school. It would be something that they might open up a little bit later. And if we did, we'd probably we'd have to add to it like a bring your own device policy, both for the middle school and the high school. And frankly, I could see that being added probably after the capital project is done, because we're putting in a lot more hot spots around the district, and including some areas where kids will be able to go and charge their phones, like the cafeterias, and we're building some areas too. Right now, it was just felt that at that age, they just weren't ready for that responsibility when they were trying to get them under normal conditions. We're trying to get them from class to class and everything else. So that I think you'll see it, just not during this cycle, but you'll see it.
So the other kids can't even have this. What are you saying?
So they're
like to middle school.
Middle school they can have them in their lockers. They can have them. Let me get this right. They just can't be seen, heard, or used. What the high schoolers can do though is if they're in an unstructured study hall, a lounge, they can use their phones. And we actually set up a separate Wi-Fi for students in the high school that has a different filter system than what the middle school students get. Also, the middle school students have a tighter filter than what the high schoolers have as well. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. That'll conclude our public hearing on the student code of conduct. Again, I mentioned no changes to the extracurricular code, and you'll hear from Erica and Andrea in September on the Title I and IDEA. There's no time frame on that, and they're all super busy trying to get school reopened. So I told them, I said, keep it till September. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on that? All right, we're going to call the regular meeting to order, and we've already done the pledge. So, and we are going to do an executive session at the end, I believe.
We are for teacher negotiations.
We'll do that. That brings us to public access to the board, and I just want to say for those of you watching from our YouTube channel, if you have any comments, please use the YouTube chat feature, and the moderator will let us know when a comment is made. We do have one person in attendance if you'd like to speak. Otherwise, I'll save that. All right, and then that brings us to the approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda with the addendum that we have here on the blue, and not that it's a big deal, but on the organizational chart, I think it's supposed to, I think the word middle school was left out. I just think middle school was on, I just think that was left out on that.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Chad, second. All right, are there any questions on that? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. That brings us to the acceptance of the minutes for the reorganizational and the regular board meeting in July. Are there any questions on that? If not, those will stand as submitted. And we do not have a treasurer's report. If anybody has any questions, if not, we will get those at the next meeting. And that brings us to our administrative report, and I believe Dr. Brown's going to update us in a few minutes.
Yep, so thank you very much. First, want to kind of give you an update about the capital project. It continues to go very, very well. If you pull into the driveway in the morning, you're going to see more contractor cars than you will employee cars. We really are getting 30 to 40 people here per day working. If you had an opportunity to look, you can see that what you're seeing on the top of the high school is the back wall of the second story, and the holes that are at the top are what are going to hold the actual beams that will go across, that'll support the roof. Eventually here, they're going to poke holes in the existing roof and bring a crane in and send huge pieces of steel down through that'll get fastened to the ground, where they're going to dig some holes and put some concrete in there as well. That you'll start seeing that sooner than later. SEI Design Group, we spoke with them. We had a facilities meeting, I forget what day, last week. And after that meeting, met with them. They're going to put a time lapse, like a hunting camera, on top of the maintenance facility. And so we'll be, at the end, we'll be able to watch the second story go up in about 30 seconds, but it obviously is going to take about 17 months. So it'll be kind of cool for us to see. Some of the I think Carrie and Jeff had an opportunity to walk through the gym a little bit before our facilities meeting, as well as the auditorium. The gym is looking good. The ceiling's has had the first rough cut of paint. They're putting in all the HVAC piping and all of that right now, and they cut through where the windows are going to be going into the second story. So that's moving right along as well. And then on the auditorium side, they shored up the stage, replaced a bunch of pieces, and made that much sturdier. And they're cranking right now. They're actually getting ready for paint. They're waiting on some duct work to come in, and that's going to fly along too. We heard that auditorium seats should be here, I think, first week in September. We hope to be able to deliver the space by the end of October, but we'll see. That may carry itself into November. I never go with what they say on projects. You always add about a month to that at least. And then the gym, waiting on the bleachers. But if they can get the floor in, we might have the gym to be able to use for large spaces, maybe by October, which would be nice as well. So great. I don't know. I've done a lot of projects. I just think the contractors that are working on this project are really, really solid. I mean, they're doing a very nice job. They're cleaning up after themselves. They're following the rules. And they haven't had the guys who started or the guys who are still working, which is also a plus. So that's a real positive on that. Reopening, if you've had an opportunity to listen to the multiple robocalls I've put out in the, and then also look at our website and Facebook and everything else, we're where we want to be in terms of reopening. I met with Mary Beer today from the Ontario County Department of Health, and she kind of blessed our contact tracing plan, as well as our testing plan and our reporting plan. So you'll see those. We're going to pull those from our main plan, as we're supposed to do, and we're going to paste that in a separate area on our website, and that will inform the public of where those things are about the contact tracing and all that. Today, met with the association leadership of the teachers. We kind of went through some of the end of the summer professional development schedules and conference days. Took a look at the October conference day and borrowed it to use in September. so we can get all the trainings in that we have to get in. I think we're going to be fine there. Erica will have a sheet out tomorrow that's going to have, it'll outline all of the PD, professional development opportunities that will be available and everything, and then the conference day schedules that'll happen. So at the same time, we have the surveys that we sent out to the community asking if they had preferred to have their child learn virtually or to come here every day. We're still in that upper 80% of students who will be attending school here. And we have a handful of homeschool students and the others that are virtual. One of the difficulties in the high school, and I had to kind of walk them through that today a little bit, was they're going to have to say no to some things. Every school is going to have to. You can't. I told them that they should design their schedules and everything for like 90%, because there's just 10% of things that, you know, we don't know what we don't know until we get students and employees here. So you got to leave yourself some room. And, you know, what it comes down to sometimes is, I'll give you a couple of 4 examples. For ECO at the middle school is a good example. We have one parent who's elected to have their child do ECO virtually, but everybody else is going to be in person. That's going to be tough. You know, we have to work through that somehow. At the high school, we have 10 honors students that are in the same grade level. So is that enough where you can peel a teacher or teachers away to offer a virtual section, or will it still be the AB? I don't know the answer to that yet. So I just said to the counselors today and Ms. Taft that they have to be okay to say no. You have to spin the wheel as many times as you can. But if it's no, it's no, because you're going to wind up with a situation that when we get here, that we're going to have to plan for and we don't even know about. So that's what they're kind of working on now. Middle school looks good. They're all cohorted and ready to go. Gorham and Valley are doing well. Also, I think one thing, you know, just to be fully transparent, I think one piece that was a little confusing, I guess, was elementary music. We have a teacher who's out on maternity who is the music teacher, and we had chosen, instead of having a substitute teach music, we're going to use that substitute as a way to be able to bring all of the Valley students back to school 5 days a week. And I had to have a conversation with the music department about that. It's nothing against music. It's a situational thing. And as soon as we can get back to music, even if it's in January or whenever, you know, we will. So that was fine, but it was just one of those pieces I didn't expect after I kind of talked to them. But when it got out in the community a little bit, it got out in the community as we're getting rid of music. Some schools have chosen to furlough music and the staff, all music, UPK 12, for 1 school year. And I think that was kind of getting blended with us not having UPK to 2 music for a few months. So I had to kind of re-navigate that ship a little bit, but I think we're okay. And other than that, I mean, we're in the process now. We're updating our frequently asked questions that we get. I'm trying to update our Facebook page, you know, at least once a night if I can. We'll have 3 public virtual hearings that we'll use. I don't know how many people we'll get because, you know, people have been so active on Facebook or, you know, answering questions back and forth, but we'll offer them and see who wants to attend. And then we'll also have an opportunity for employees to ask questions, but we've been with the employee groups as well and talking with them all along. And we haven't really had much, we've had some concerns that we've been able to talk about, but what we do want to do is try to get, before school starts, try to find ways to allow staff to come in. It'll be difficult for them to be able to come in and get their rooms set up because our custodians are just working as hard as they can. We've also we have some bus driver interest to come in and help clean. We're going to utilize them as well because they're not going to be able to have field trips and sports and everything else. So they're losing a lot of income over here, and many of them are looking for other jobs, and we need bus drivers. So I said, well, how about, you know, why can't we have, would you be interested to come in and clean and make up some of that money? And now I think we have 10 that have said yes to that. And so we'll kind of work it out with them. But it's, you know, I feel as good as I think we can where we are today without any other, who knows what else is going to happen. But, you know, we have processes in place for surveys for staff for every day to make sure that they check off that they're well. If they're not well, they're not going to come to school. We're going to inform them about that. We have a way for students. We have a testing protocol. We've got all that. So I think we just need to keep working through that. We want to find ways to get students and staff into the building, even if it's just to walk the halls for a little while, just to see what it's going to be like. Because while many of us have been here every day since March, a lot of people walk out of here in March and have not been back, and we want to give an opportunity to be a little less anxious when they come in. So we're working on that too. And then Amy Carroll and I are working on a couple of instructional videos for kids and then for parents. What kind of mask can I wear? How do you put it on? How am I going to get on the bus? So we're going to try to have some fun with that a little bit and get that out here in the next couple of weeks too. So that's the reopening. And last but not least, extended school year. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, yeah.
So reopening, so I know we're not gonna be able to get in the gym right away.
Right.
What does PE look like?
Yep. So PE it'll be a combination of in-person and virtual. In the spring, they had success in the high school, especially with students keeping logs of their activities and having the teacher check in. But we're going to be able to use this space. We're going to be able to use possibly the middle school wrestling room if they need it. We're going to have it outdoors as much as we can as well. And then if we can't, then we'll have some virtual pieces also. That's a good point. I should also mention, many schools aren't doing chorus because of the 12-foot distancing, but we met with the music staff and we're trying to work outside the box here, people. So we're actually gonna have students line up around the perimeter of the pool, socially distanced. They're not using the pool right now, and be able to do their chorus there. And then also we'll have an outside area as well for them to do chorus. And then there will be times where the boardroom that you're used to, that may be used for individual lessons for a while. So we may end up using this room for board meetings for at least a little bit until we know what we know. Get into October maybe and figure out where we are. But we're trying to offer all of what we can. We're already starting to put together how to do virtual concerts and that kind of thing. So we're going to try to have as robust a music experience as we can. But I just thought of that when you mentioned the phys ed piece. So.
And one more question,
Yep.
because you had meant, I don't know if you said the opening day, obviously we can't get in the auditorium. That's going to look a lot different than.
Even if we had an auditorium, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to get everybody back because of social distancing. So you and I have to talk about how we're gonna get the opening message out just in a different, probably segmented way. So you and I have to talk about that. Yeah. Phys ed, the other thing I want to mention too, which I think is important, is we have to use as little equipment as possible because you're not supposed to share equipment. So we might think to ourselves, well, if it's nice out, we'll have the kids go out and play kickball. Well, you can't, because one kid's going to kick a ball, another kid's going to catch it, and it could be a germ to a germ, and so you can't have that as much. So we're trying to figure out ways to use as little equipment as possible. People have mentioned tennis and all of that, but I know, as Chad knows, one of the pieces, like at home, if we were to disinfect a space at home, like if we're going to disinfect our kitchen, we may take out 2 Clorox wipes, fold one over the other. We're going to clean off maybe our kitchen island, a little bit of the table, the side counters, and what we're being instructed is it's 1 Clorox wipe per item. So if that's a paintbrush, it's 1 Clorox wipe. If it's a tennis racket, it's 1 Clorox wipe. If it's a kickball, it's 1 Clorox wipe. And if it's all these desks, it's 1 times this many desks, Clorox wipes. And you would say, so what? The product is incredibly difficult to get right now, and it's not the cheapest in the world either. So we're trying different mixtures of things and all of that, but right now we're going to start with using as little equipment as we can, just to try to do. We can open school. We have enough. We have hand sanitizer. We have Clorox wipes, and all of that. We have, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 masks ready to go. We have a combination of cloth, cotton, and throwaway. We're good to go. It's just that we want to get in, I call it a battle rhythm. I want to get in the battle rhythm before we decide, how much, what are we going to alter, and can we add more equipment to sports or to phys ed and all of that. So I want to get this ship off the ground. That's goal number 1. So extended school year, just wanted to say, we had the 18. We really were fortunate to get who we got. I didn't know who we were going to get when we put the word out about extended school year. We got the 18. You can't ask for better than, you have Greg O'Connor and Ethan Eschler and Molly Gray, just rock stars. And they did a really nice job. Our support staff, Jen Allen, our teaching assistants, they were just phenomenal. And so Thursday is the last day of that. And what I thought it helped us with was, we had a couple of potential COVID cases during extended school year, and I thought it was a great opportunity for us to run through the protocol, and we did, and it was successful. The communication piece was handled appropriately. really helped us with our planning for our big reopening, so that was good. And food service, it goes along with that. Thursday is going to be our last day again. Just a phenomenal group of women who have helped to make sure that that's been possible. And then Thursday is also our last food link distribution as well. So one more thing I wanted to say, because I just want to congratulate Mickey Frieda, who's here, and Bonnie Kaiser for being Pam Helming's New York Senate Women of Distinction nominees. So Mickey, congratulations to you. And Bonnie. That's a high honor. I know for a fact that there are lots of people who are recommended and only a select few that get even nominated. And then they have to make the ultimate choice of who gets the top. I don't know how they pick that out of when you read everything. We do have a grandmother who was a lieutenant, who was a lieutenant colonel. She lives in our school district, and she was also nominated as well. So tomorrow I'll get a letter out to her just congratulating her on behalf of the district. She has grandkids that are in our schools right now. So that's that. And after tomorrow, 3 o'clock, give her till 4 o'clock. At 4:01, probably tomorrow, you can start calling Mrs. Kaiser, Dr. Kaiser. She's going to be defending her dissertation tomorrow, and her long road will be completed. I know how that feels. So that'll be a good load off for her, but certainly deserved. So congratulations to Bonnie. I know she'll crush it tomorrow in her dissertation defense, which is going to be on Zoom, which I think is going to be interesting. So, but do you want to turn it over to Zoe quickly so she can go over the tax rates with you, if that's okay?
So I've shared with you the green piece of paper, the tax levy by town. The first part shows the share of the levy by town, the schools and the library. And then the second little box there is the tax rates, the school tax rate and the library rates for this year. I think the thing I'd like to just note is the comparison. I've always shared this, just giving you a little history of where we've been and where we are. And also I penciled in, when we did the budget presentations, we projected tax rates for each town. So that's the penciled in ones, like for Gorham, we projected 1404 and it's 1293. So even though our tax rate levy went up 3.57%, with the assessments rising, the town of Gorham, I think it was the major one, other ones had a few, but we saw a decrease in the tax rate. So it puts us in a good position, like when we go out and present the budget, where we are and what we're projecting, and the tax rate being $12.93. That's it, 100% assessed values, equalization rates. Some towns are not there, and so their rates are a little higher. Any questions on that? The other thing we've spent some time, John and I have been discussing the tax season and being prepared just in case we would have to close the doors for some reason and not be here, and how would that look in the tax during the tax season of September and October. She will be set up to be able to work remotely at home. She was during the spring. She'll have everything there if that happens. The other thing that we were approached on probably the last few years is credit card payments. And we've kind of said, hey, we don't want to do that. I think this year we've done some research. We've reached out to a couple of the school districts that have done it with positive, everything was positive. I didn't hear any negative about it. So we have reached out. It's called Municipay. They're a national company, works with municipalities across the country. They handle credit card payments for municipalities. So they've done it for 13 years, so I'm pretty positive that they're on the right track and they'll make it work. They will communicate with our software. So what would happen is there's always a credit card fee. We all know that when we use our credit cards, usually when we go to a store, they pick up that fee. That fee would go to the taxpayer. So when you go on the site, if we decide to do this, we give me the okay. When you go out there, they look up their tax bill. It comes up showing, here's your tax bill. In red, it will say the fee is 2.65%. And there's a checkbox, and they're acknowledging that they are responsible for that fee. So they would get charged for that fee, not the school district. So then they do that, they go to the next screen, it figures out, here's your tax bill amount, here's the fee. Again, it will say, you are responsible for this fee. And if you acknowledge it, then you put your credit card information in. So there's 2 acknowledgements of the fee that they're responsible for. I guess if you're at September 30th, that's when we hear a lot of calls. We get calls like on September 30th, forgot to pay the tax bill, you take a credit card. Because they don't want to do the interest fee for the next month. Or even at the end, October 31st, I want to pay my bill, but I can't get there, I can't get a check to you, can't write the check for whatever the situation is. We do have some property owned by taxpayers that are out of the country, so they can't get us the payment in time, so they would like that credit card option. So I just need to, if you're okay with it, we'll move forward. If you have any questions.
So what's the machine set up at the school? And
Nope, it's all online.
It is online?
It's online, yep. You go push, you want to pay, you go to, it's on the tax bill, taxlookup.net.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you can go on and look at your tax bill out on that website. It's already on our tax bill.
Okay.
So you go there, and it says there'll be a little tab saying pay online. They'll click on that and it'll all come up and direct them what to do.
But we can still go to the bank for their
You can
check?
still go to the bank, you can still pay by check, and we'll accept those.
Yep.
It will download a file every day, so it's up to date. So they download a file, done, uploads it, puts it right into our system, so the payments will be recorded.
So Dawn would oversee that.
Yeah.
We would still get the original bill though, not.
They'll get the original, yes. Nothing changes there. They'll get an email, just like when you do an online payment, a lot of times you put your email address in there, they'll get a confirmation right back that it was processed. So that helps to, they'll get that documentation.
You need
You don't
Do you
need
need to
to,
know tonight?
I need to know tonight because these bills are gonna go out in the next couple of weeks, and I wanna make sure.
Oh, bear of good news.
Yeah, bear of news. So I just wanna make sure that we wanna note that on there, that they can be paid online. And go to
Does anyone have a problem with that or comments, suggestions?
The other thing is, if you own more than one piece of property, you will get, the transaction fee will be on each piece of property. It's one transaction for each piece of property.
It's just
Is
one
it-
fee, right?
But it's
one
just a
fee.
2.65 on the
No,
total.
Right.
Per transaction, per the amount of each transaction.
Right, but if you own 10 properties.
Gotta be a
and they
separate
were just
transaction.
Yes,
$10,000,
you wanna go to the
it's
bank.
still The total, it's not,
You want to go to the bank.
is there a transaction fee on top of that?
No, just for one. If
So
somebody
it'll
goes
still be-
on, they own, let's say, 5 pieces of property, they're gonna have to do it 5 times. Because that's how we know the payment's made on that tax item. Okay. Thank you. I'll need you to sign the lovely tax warrant form. I'll send it around. Just put your
That everyone
signature on
has to sign.
it. Everyone has to sign, yes. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or anything else?
Couple reopening, Chris. So what is, this could have been in your frequently asked questions. I'm trying to keep up with it. Maybe I'm like on top
You got your
of
own
it.
list.
I know, I got my own I'm trying to answer too, but so like for all the students that are doing virtual every other day, what is it like for them? So is it going to be, they have to be online at a certain time? Is it going to be like they're here, but they have to do it virtually, or is it going to be less strict? You know what I mean? I've had a couple people ask
Yep.
me, and I directed them to the frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was there, and I apologize.
No. It's so what we have printed right now today, okay, is that middle school and high school students, if they're virtual, so on their virtual day, they're going to go on at the time that their math class is when it would be here. That's today. What like Ms. Taft and the counselors are working on is if there's groups they can pull apart and have them independently educated, they will. If they can co-seat classes, they will. All of that kind of thing. And Dr. Cole's kind of looking at some of that as well. But I wanted to give them a worst case. Not that it's the worst, but I wanted to give them, here's what we can do as of today. And once we know exactly how many students we have who are virtual and homeschool, I think we may have picked up a 2nd grade teacher for virtual today, going through the numbers, And so by the end of the week, I should have a better idea, but what's printed today on the frequently asked questions is that they're going to take that English class at the same time. They're going to get up, take it at the same time the English class was. They're just going to be on Zoom for that. That's what we're doing now. But again, it's subject to change.
What about the younger kids?
Younger kids on their virtual day, they're still going to have their virtual teacher. So they can probably slide that a little bit. But we're still talking about that. It's not like it's, so like middle school, high school is going to have another group of kids in there while another group is at home. So it's different than Valley. Well, Valley's there 5 days a week.
Yep.
You know, and we're trying as hard as we can to pick up even one more day a week at Gorham. We're working hard at that. Yeah, it just, when you know how it goes, when you get to the middle school and high school with certifications, you can't just say, okay, you're going to do this. They got to fit in the right certification and all of that. So, but yeah, I would say if any parents asking it now, I would just say today it's a schedule match virtual, but it's subject to change as soon as we
Yeah,
have.
one of them had a high schooler and a kid in Florida.
So, yeah.
So it was, they were like, oh, do you know what it's gonna be? I think it's gonna be like, you were supposed to be in school, you're supposed to be online.
You gave the right answer. Gorham will be flexible.
Or,
Gorham can be flexible. Yeah, the high school cannot unless they're able to open up something. When we sat down today, there were 29 students who chose fully virtual. Now we don't have 100% of the results in, so the assistants are calling the people who we don't have, and they're completing the survey on the phone with them. We want to try to get as close to 100% data set as we can, so we're not doing this again the week before school starts, you know. So, yeah, that's a great
the other
question.
question I had is, I asked Dan too. I put it out on the list, or I had to hear Dan's response though, but are we cleaning during the day?
We are.
Every room?
Yeah, so there's two ways that'll happen. The cohorted rooms will be cleaned at the end of the day because it's the same kids in there all day. And then what we'll do for middle school, high school, well, middle school is cohorted as well. But the doorknobs, the high touch areas outside going into the classrooms and stuff will be done. I think it's every half hour. And the bathrooms are going to be done I think it's every half hour also. I just met with the custodians last week about it, and we're going to have sign off sheets in every possible area so that we can reassure everybody there's a signature and a time stuff is done. We found that to be very successful at extended school year when Roxy was down there, and she's got it on every surface and she signs it. So the teachers were very confident in her that it was all getting done. That's what we'll do. High school and middle school for that matter. Teacher aides can be used in different ways as well. We wouldn't be asking them to do heavy cleaning, but certainly maybe taking a Clorox wipe and wiping off a desk surface. The other creative thing we're looking at in the high school is keeping 24 desks in a classroom, having a class of 12 occupy 12 desks. They go to their next class, the next group comes in, they sit in the next group of desks, and then when they leave, there's an open spot, and then we have a couple custodians come in and clean the whole thing before the next group comes in. We're looking at that too. Just trying to be as efficient as we can. Phyllis?
As far as like the Zoom lessons, who has access to that? Like, will just the kids that are at home virtually learning have access to those lessons?
Right.
To that classroom?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, so the question was, we're trying to use the microphones.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. So the question was, who will have access to the lessons when they're at home? So if I'm teaching a math class, as I used to, and I've got students that are coming on at 9 o'clock for my algebra class, okay? My Zoom link is going to go just to those 12 or whatever algebra students that I have.
So it's not going to be a public.
It is not going to be a public thing, no. Some of the teachers, what we're talking about is kind of a hybrid within a hybrid. So what Chad mentioned was the schedules are going to line up. So it's either virtual or in person, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, whatever it is. But within there, some teachers can do video lessons if they want to, their choice. Like I can see science doing some of that if they want to get students ahead on a virtual day, and it's going to be a lesson that they can do on like a Screencastify and have them watch it at home and then come in and do the work related to it when they're back in school. So I think you're going to see a hybrid within the third week of school, I think. Once the teachers get going and they say to themselves, wait a minute, I can do this way smarter. Can I do X, Y, and Z? And the answer will be yes, they're the professionals, you know, so as long as it works. John?
Yeah, I was going to ask if the teachers were going to receive training or something and how to deal with, you've got live students in front of you and then you have a virtual presence. Yep. And I thought at some point, and maybe you've changed since then, but I thought I read something that the focus would be on the students that are live in the classroom. And the other students, like how is that gonna,
Yeah.
is the lesson, just use my daughter, if
Yep.
she's there on Tuesday,
Yep.
it's a face-to-face lesson, is the lesson continuing on Wednesday when those other kids come in? And now she's virtual, is she continuing what she learned face-to-face on Tuesday?
It's going to depend on her class. So the question is, because of the microphone, so the question is, what is that going to look, the virtual piece going to look like, and how will we get people trained? So let me start with the training piece. We have people that are in tech coach positions, and what we're doing on September 1st is going to be our professional development on exactly what you just said. We've already done a bunch this summer, but we're going to do more on September 1st. How do we get the in-person, virtual, hybrid model working? So if a teacher is going to be doing exactly what you said, your daughter comes one day and at home, the lesson is being continued on day 2, let's say in a social studies class, and we have a camera that's on top of a Chromebook and it's reaching out to the class, and the teacher is teaching. The teacher will also have the ability to have their smartboard broadcast to that person who's watching virtually as well. That's what they're going to get. So the teacher has to plan. You can give the meat and potatoes when they're in person probably. You can probably give them meat or potatoes when they're virtual, because you still have to be able to get around the room, check for understanding, and you got to be able to do that virtually. Now in English, where you've got we're going to have the new Zoom license, which will allow us the ability to do it breakout rooms. If you have enough students who are virtual, you can do breakout rooms on maybe sonnets or something like that, which is a big piece of that. They can break out there while the students that are in class can break out in the class, and then the teacher can monitor both and then bring them back together. So I think you're going to see a bunch of different options there. I really, really do. So Gorham will be completely different from that. Gorham is going to be, you'd have the full attention of the teacher on the virtual day, because they're not teaching students in-house that day. So that's way different. And so what we're trying to do is take that base plan and make it as better as we can, with who we have, so. Yeah. What else? Any other questions?
And then, do you know how you're gonna, is it just like A through L? Like, is it just gonna be a random pairing, or is it gonna be?
No, so that's an awesome question. So the question is, how are we grouping students, right? So there's probably 3 or 4 different ways, right? So that's a great question. We started with A through K and then L through Z. That was just the base pairing of the 2 groups, blue and gold for middle school, and A day, B day for the high school. And then what the counselors did at each level is they went through everybody A to Z, and they found how many households have a B and a T, okay? And now they want to make sure that B and T go to school on the same day. So I either took T and put them over here, or took B and put them over here, okay? Then you have some children who are in the same childcare or daycare, right? So the same thing's going to happen. We're going to try to have them go to school on the same day by alphabet and try to load balance it that way. Then, oh wait, there's more. So that's the second question. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So then the next piece for balancing is you have to take students with disabilities and decide how much have they regressed, not only in the 3 months, but if they didn't get a true summer experience like they were used to, where are they now heading into September? And if they're not where we want them to be, well, we're going to ask those parents if their children can come to school 5 days a week. So they'd have no virtual days. We also broke apart the survey, and we asked questions about internet access. And for people who are working through a phone company or through DSL or have no internet, we're also looking to see how many of them could we possibly either get here 5 days a week. They may not be in their classroom. They may be in a separate room, but learning virtually, and then the teacher can pop in. So I think I don't know if right now, if you looked at the breakouts, blue and gold and A and B, if I didn't tell you it was A through K to start with, I'm not sure you would know that, because it's just been kind of remanufactured a bunch of times, but we had to start somewhere to create a base. And right now I've heard no complaints I haven't had any parent complaints about it, and we've been working through childcare issues, custody issues, all of that. And we've been able to get to almost every single one, even to the point of if I have a child who's at Gorham and can't go to school on Friday, and I have their high schooler attending school, we're still trying to make it so their virtual day would be on the day this kid's at home on a Friday. So we're trying to drill down that deep to try to make it work. I mean, does it work in every case? No, but we're trying to pick apart every piece of that as we can, and the principals have been working together on that. So yeah, it's like, you probably wouldn't know, and won't want to say it out loud, you probably wouldn't know it's A through K or L through Z. That's just how we started. And
Is
then
there more?
And then grouping, well, there's one more. You know, people have kind of brought up, they've mentioned grouping by ability, and to the extent that we can, that's like a fifth layer to it, right? If you can make that happen as well. One of the pieces in our professional development also, which has happened this summer, and they're going to get a big section of it on September 2nd, is on that gap closing and looking at how can we evaluate, I don't want to say test, how can we assess or evaluate students in those first couple of weeks to see where they are, and then figure out what we can do to make sure that they're in a position of strength. I would want a weaker student to get more support, and I would want a stronger student to not have to wait for that. We're going to try to balance it as best we can, you know. But I couldn't put.
Oh, yeah, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Catering to all students.
Trying.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
No,
trying.
That's really great.
Well, you'll end up with, I mean, like anything else, when you've got 1,200 students, we're going to wind up with 50 or 60 parents who aren't going to be happy, I'm sure. You know, but we are clicking down as many layers as we can to try to make it work.
No, that's impressive, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah.
For that explanation.
Super.
That's great.
So how often can these students change the way they're learning?
Okay.
Can they start coming here and say, oh, I don't learn.
Yep. So,
So they have to be able to all schedule them.
Yep. So Sue asked a great question. Sue asked if a student starts coming to school but wants to go home, and then wants to go home, or is at home, wants to come to school, how frequently can that happen? It's kind of it's a relationship build with the family, because what the law is going to say is that a child has a right to receive their instruction either here or at home, because we're offering both options, okay? What we're asking families to consider, and we're telling them right up front why we're asking them to consider it, for exactly what you said. We've created a schedule, we've socially distanced kids, we've done all this stuff. If your child is at home, could you please consider a semester of that? And then we'll integrate you back in. Now, things are going to happen. Parents going to lose a job, get a job. Someone's going to get a divorce, someone's going to get married. Something's going to happen to that. And when those things happen, we've asked them to come and meet with me. And what we'll do is we'll sit down and look at it. At the end of the day, I would have to accept that student coming back, but we have a plan for that. So if we have, going back to that high school model of 12 students in a class, that's 12 students. And I don't know if you saw the pictures that we had on our Facebook of the socially distanced and all that. So if I have a 13th student or a 14th student now, what we would do is the students who are in the front, if they're 6 feet socially distanced, they could still remove their masks. So we confirmed this with Mary Beer today. And if I have 2 other students that maybe were at home and now want to be at school for whatever reason in that class, we're going to create a barrier for them. So they'll have a barrier system. They'll wear a mask, and they'll be probably closer than 6 feet together for the time being. So we've got a plan for it. And then we also have a plan for the opposite. If you've got a bunch of kids in a class and all of a sudden one student tests positive and a bunch of parents say, I'm not sending my kid to school anymore, we're going to go virtual, we have a plan for that as well. So we're trying to have every angle covered. But like I said, Sue, we're going to get to school time and something that we haven't thought about is going to happen. You just know it is. I've been around long enough to know. We've all been around long enough to know something's going to happen that we haven't thought about, and we're going to have to plan for that too when it comes. Which is why I've told them all, plan your stuff out 90%. You need 10% buffer. Got to have it, you know, just in case.
So Chris, you're meeting with Mary Beer.
Very, very up.
So I just heard this too. I should know this, but nobody knows the answer to all this stuff. Are you 6 feet like chair to chair or desk to desk?
We're supposed to be 6 feet chair to chair.
Chair to chair.
Yep. The question was socially distanced, just to use the microphone. The question was for social distancing, are we chair to chair or desk to desk? We're chair to chair. So we're human to human. Human to human. Yep.
She said that was okay, right?
Yes. Yeah, the conversation about busing was challenging because today, you know, we had gotten feedback that we were allowed to have 1 child per seat, and then also have a family member or a sibling sit with them, so 2 children per seat. And then if a child was at a daycare, the daycare people could sit together too, because there's no social distancing in a daycare, so why can't they sit on the bus together? And that was all fine and dandy, so poor Leanne Shipman's over there going through the survey, filling out bus routes, and then today, from the county, we get here's an update. You can have 8 students, basically have 8 students on a bus. And so we were like, wait a minute, pump the brakes, no pun intended. And so during our call today, we said, can you clarify that? Because we've been hearing, 24, 26. Some of the Monroe County schools are putting 2 students per seat, whether they're related or not, and having them wear masks the whole on the bus. And, she basically, it came down to what I said earlier, it came down to must or should. The Ontario County Department of Health used must maintain 6 feet social distancing. The other state guidance is should. So we kind of said, look, we need to go with the should, and Mary said, that's fine. So we're going with the should. So we're putting 26 kids on a bus. So that's that's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, to your point too, Sue, like, that was, I'm glad you would ask that question. So like, for poor Leanne over there.
Yeah.
If the student now all of a sudden wants to come to school and to ride, like that messes with their transportation.
Yeah.
Especially if you only have 8 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, those buses are what they did.
If it was 8 kids on a bus, you might as well say.
We have
What-
community members
Yeah.
complaining now.
Yeah.
Three buses
There would be
go
no-
by their house,
there
there's
would
no
be no-
kids on them.
There'd be no reason to send.
What I think is going to be a challenge for people, besides this whole thing, is here's a unique scenario. Teacher A has their classroom socially distanced, a true 6 feet. So if you talk to Mr. McKenzie, he would like to have tape measures in every classroom to ensure 6 feet. So let's just say we did that. And Mickey Frieda, and in Mickey Frieda's class, I've got my children, I have them 6.5 feet, 7, let's just say 7 feet. She's an overachiever, right? So we have them 7 feet. And she tells the students they can remove their masks and everything's fine. And then we have somebody else that's got their children who are 6.5 feet. And that teacher says, you're going to keep your masks on all the time. I'm going to give you mask breaks, because the term in there is should, okay? And now let's just say, because we had this conversation today at the county, a child tests positive for COVID in Mickey's class, again, 7 feet apart. It's very possible that even though they were socially distanced, that entire classroom is going to get quarantined. Where if it happened in the 6.5 feet classroom, but the teacher said you're wearing masks and I'm going to give you breaks, that maybe only the students to their left and right are going to get quarantined. Now, what is the court of public opinion going to say? The whole school's going to close, right? For a couple of days probably, until things get sorted out. We know how the public is going to be. I'm just telling you, when you get down to the brass tacks of it, these are the kinds of issues we're going to be dealing with, probably, And I also, Sue?
What about substitute teachers?
Yep.
Are they being trained? Like,
So we talked about, so the question was, what about substitute teachers? So substitute teachers are going to have, for what they're getting paid, they're going to have an additional job, right? Because if you're a middle or high school substitute teacher, the expectation is that you're going to have a virtual session, just like a teacher's going to have. So you have to train your substitute teachers on how to come into a classroom, log into the computer after it's been wiped down, log into their Zoom, get their class started, and get going. They're gonna have the same expectation of that for now. So that's and I think we talk about that as a group of superintendents. We're all kind of in that same boat. I don't know how it's going to look. That might be part of that 10% that I don't know what that's going to look like when we start rolling that out. I have substitutes that I know could do it, and then I have some substitutes that I know are fantastic people and awesome subs that are just not going to be able to do that. And I know we should never say never. I'm just telling you, they are not going to be able to do it. And so how do you how are we going to do that? Jen?
I'm assuming that the first day with the students is going to be quite the orientation day.
Yep.
The teacher's going to take time with the students and say,
Yeah.
this is where we're at. These are things.
Yep. So this question was, students on the first day will be a kind of a training. It'll be more than the first day. It'll be, we're going to try to find a way to get students into school before that, like maybe use the day where they come in to get their Chromebooks and stuff as a day to kind of look at the building, talk a little bit about what it looks like to have your mask on, and we'll have decals on the floors, and we're going to have walking directions depending upon what room you come out of, right and lefts, and all that kind of stuff too. That'll all be set on the floors for when students come in. So yeah, we'll have minimum at least a day of, let's walk you through. One of our professional development days, a portion of September 1st, is going to be to take our employees in each building through a day through the eyes of being a student. So we want them to see what a student's going to kind of look like when they come in. How do you, them getting off the bus with all of that, and we're going to put them in that role.
I know many of the students, but they miss a lot about school is social aspect.
Yep.
And I keep telling my daughter, it's not going to be the same.
It's not.
When you go back, I know you miss your friends, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, it's going to be different. I will say this though, we do have plenty of students in this district who have really, because of internet or whatever, parent circumstance, whatever, have not been able to communicate with their classmates at all. And I think so for them, it's going to be a godsend to be able to come back to school, see some people, hear some people. But yeah, being able to huddle around a cafeteria table and have lunch and spill out what's going on during the day it's just not going to look the same.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. And I hope we can get beyond that. It's going to be a while though. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you.
I feel very comfortable with it. You seem to have a handle on it.
Frequently asked questions, right?
Yeah, we're trying. Some of the
Trying to keep up.
Facebook questions are fun as well to try to have a little fun with those.
Well, you said you haven't thought of everything, but I think you hit the first 500 questions.
Right, yeah,
that
we're trying.
could possibly come across, but yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a
There'll be something we don't know.
interesting ride.
Yeah.
Good questions.
Yeah, excellent question.
All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda that is H1A to H13, including the addendum of H1C and H13.
Oh,
And I believe we're going to pull something. H1A, just the substitute position. 1A, so we're going to pull that. Does anybody else want to pull anything? If not, the motion is made by Chad and second by Carrie. Are there any questions on that? There's a lot in there. If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried, and now we will vote on H1A. I need a motion on that?
Second.
Carried. Are there any questions on that? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That motion is carried. That brings us to the second public access to the board. I'm going to ask Brenda if she can check our comments on YouTube to see if there are any questions.
Don't have any comments right now.
All
There's a
right.
little delay, so if I.
Yes, feel free to raise your hand if there are any questions. I'm going to look out in our audience and seeing no questions.
Gosh, we miss Mabel.
I know.
Yep, we're going to move on
Just so
to,
you all know, Mabel did say to say hello.
of course she did, yes.
She home?
That's going to bring us to the board member items. I know Chris already kind of gave us the recap of the buildings and grounds meeting. Is there anything you guys want to say about that, or? Kind of recapped,
Looks great. What's already completed and what's gonna be done. Wow.
so exciting. So,
Gym and the auditorium are completely gutted.
At
After
the end,
40 some years looking at it one way, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it done.
yeah,
Can't
that's
wait.
exciting.
Dan took us up to the concession stand.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. So exciting. Yeah, we definitely have to have some sort of ribbon cutting
When
or
we can.
when we have a sporting event there or whatever. I know, they were, I
Bill
don't
gets to
for,
cook the first time.
please,
Yeah.
please.
we developed a menu for the concession stand, have some sort of specialty stand.
We
I know.
Yeah.
We gotta have something.
Right?
Pride in the Paul burger.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
something like that.
The COVID club sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, let's have a committee to create some of those things.
Put it that way,
Yeah.
if you want to.
Yeah, see, that's a big seller. Right. Yeah, so that's exciting. I don't know if you have another meeting set or not, but,
We don't right now.
okay. And the audit committee, I do want to, I know Jim Lewis's name should be on here. We had, our meeting was canceled in July. So our next one is August, November, 20 something. Yeah. So,
And I'm hoping to have the audit, they were in-house, not here, but the country business office last week, so I'm hoping the next week or so. Get a rough draft of the audit.
When is that August what?
Before Tuesday, and then they will- What is it?
what is it, 25th?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about that, what time of day we wanted that meeting.
Susan. So
So
you'll
you
let us
want me
know.
to reach out to Jim, Sean, and Tara and give them like 3 o'clock?
Sure.
3 o'clock.
Does that sound
That
good?
works for them? Okay.
Bless you.
That sounds good. All right, and then the policy committee, John and Sue. I don't know if you have anything set up or any need to have anything set up.
Not to my knowledge, I think it's,
And the challenge we're having right now, frankly, is the School Boards Association, nothing against them at all, but either they've had some staff turnover or something, because the last time we received policy updates was April of last year. And so what we're going to do probably, there's a cost to having their policy service. What we're probably going to do is turn that over to Ferrara, our school attorney. They have a policy service. It's comparable in cost and they're incredibly responsive. So we may switch that over just because, I mean,
I feel like we did recently, but they're not responding.
but they're not delivering.
So now we're gonna have to go by all those policies and.
No. They would basically be the same. What Ferrara already does anyway is they look through our policy manual as the people who defend us. We don't have many changes to make. I'm just saying that Ferrara will be incredibly responsive to us, and it's in the ballpark. We haven't had anything from NISBA since April of 2019. And we've
Any
been.
chance of any refund of anything? I mean,
Well,
because
we
I thought we
got,
paid.
so we have to talk to them about that, and that's, we've been, Sharina's been on them about calls, emails, can we please get the update? Yep, and we just haven't.
So it can't be noticed.
No, we can't be, and so I just feel strongly that, I know it's tedious, but I really do think it's a good exercise for a slice team of board members and a slice team of us to go through that policy manual every year and to just go through it. Even if nothing changes, it's good for people to get familiar with what's in there, you know?
For sure.
And I'm sure with the way things are now, there has to be.
Yeah, what you approved tonight was, we may have to alter some policies, like the calendar, for example, we got to change the date, and we'll come back to you with it. But right now, the policy, the thing you approved tonight allows us to make adjustments to policies, and then we'll bring them back when the dust settles, and we can make the adjustments that we have to make. John?
I'm assuming there is a policy, I remember correctly, about what class students can drive to school. Was it juniors and seniors or something? Are you relaxing that because you were going to encourage more students to drive?
Yeah, we're gonna try to, but what we're finding is that sophomores aren't able to get their stuff because they weren't able to get to the DMV. So we're even struggling with juniors and seniors getting their licenses and stuff because they're not able to get to the DMV like they would normally. But yeah, and just to further that point, we're gonna be resealing and restriping the parking lot and renumbering the numbers. So we will be able to do something with student parking. But I don't think we would normally have 4 to 5 sophomores who would qualify. I don't think we're even gonna have that because we're not gonna be able to have, they can't get their licenses right now, or even take their driver test for that matter right now. So, yeah, but we are gonna accommodate that, so yes. What's that? They can do that. Yeah.
Question, because if there's juniors and seniors that, yeah, they're not able to do that, are they doing road tests now?
Not to my knowledge.
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
Maybe if you want to get a license, your commitment is.
Right.
For how
Oh,
many
that's
months
just
later?
tough.
For how many months later?
Yeah, it's tough.
That might be a good conversation to bring up for 4 counties though, if anybody else is having problems with, you know, this discussion. The safety committee, Corey is not here, but I got a bunch of, what do you call it, calendar RSVPs thing. I'm still on the list, I think. I declined them all because I wouldn't be attending, but I know that she sent them out today, so I'm assuming Corey, we might want to just let him know that maybe I'll text him or something and let him know that he's on that and see if he got those texts. 4 county school board. Phyllis is Phyllis is still on the legislature. You raised your hand when you shouldn't have. And Sue's name should probably be on here too, because she's the treasurer. That's what I was gonna bring up. I know there's a meeting, August 24th at 6:30. I RSVP for myself because there's no, like, you don't have to, there's no meal or anything like that. So if anybody else, it's virtual, obviously. I wrote down 6:30. So if anybody else wants to attend that, I can't right now recall what the topic. I know it's like the end of the year meeting. Yeah. So if anybody else wants to attend, I think it's free for everybody. So you can just text Sue Wyatt or email Sue Wyatt. I just want to say, does anybody else have anything else for school board items? I just wanted to say thank you all for voting Cindy and I again, but I wanted to throw out there that I don't want to be, I want to rest on what has been done in the past. And if anybody has any suggestions or input or anything that you'd like to give either one of us, I'm speaking on behalf of us, if there's any suggestions anything that you guys want to see done differently, I don't want to just go into the next year and then go the next 12 months and have everything be the same. If anybody's looking to have any changes or anything like that. When I first got nominated, I had made it a thing to go to 3 other board meetings, and it was one of the most beneficial things I've done, just to see how 3 other schools did their board meetings, very, very different and whatever. And but I just want to tell you that we'd both be willing to do anything if you see anything that could be changed for this year to make it better for all students, since it's kind of like the year of change and things are happening all the time. Just let us know. I think just to throw it out there, I'm going to try to take it upon myself to do, and I'm sure you guys are getting the same emails as I am from NISBA. They do have a couple virtual things coming up, and I'm going to talk to Shireen about getting us registered. Thankfully, I don't think we have anybody that has to do the fiscal oversight or the online governance, because everybody did that. Those are offered, and I did read that if anybody wants to do a refresher course, they offer a reduced fee if anybody feels the need to do that. But there's also a virtual board officer academy thing that I'm going to try to do in September. But again, if anybody has any suggestions or input that you'd like to see changed, let us know.
I'll send you a list.
Yeah.
I have one thing to add. I was at a Monroe County clerk workshop back in March before COVID hit. Brought to my attention is that mandated reporter, all board members need to complete. So I'm going to set that up online. I'll give you a username and password, and you can do that at your leisure. Mandated. You are if you send me your certificate.
Your HR person can do it.
Okay. It's mandated report. It's mandated reporter training for board members. So it's essentially, it's a piece, what to look for in abuse.
Oh,
and all
right.
that kind of thing.
I was like, what?
It is tailored to board members. Like I have it as a teacher, and I have it as an administrator. I used Darkness to Light as the program that I used for that. But it looks a little different for board members because you're not in the buildings every day. But so it's a little, I'm not gonna say watered down, but it just doesn't, it's not as in-depth as it would be for Chad or me when we're in our day jobs.
Is
or for
that a
city
new thing
for
that they're having board members do?
It's been going on, and we noticed it, so we probably should have.
Yeah, I
know.
Yeah.
The new school
We'll figure it
attorneys
out.
let me
It's
know
not-
this
it's
as
not
well.
So you're gonna send us a link?
Yeah, we'll send you a link to it. It's not, it won't take long at all. It's just.
I need a deadline.
I almost
Like,
had
say
it.
that.
Yeah,
we'll be
a
Yeah.
deadline.
Yeah.
We will be doing this.
You have to have- yeah.
It trains to let
It's
you
like I
know
have to do
when you're
Narcan training.
Oh, oh.
Great. That's what I asked her. She's got to talk to your HR. She's had to have done it here.
Oh, right, you,
It's not different for a board member. right?
It's a little less in depth, I would say. It's gonna take you, actually, Shereen will send me the link, I'll take it. So I can tell you, so I'll tell you how long, I'm gonna say it takes 20 to 25 minutes, not very long.
I'll give you my login.
Yeah.
You can test it out for us.
Yeah.
Should I do it again regardless? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
no, because you're being in the school system, you're getting.
you got a long one, yeah.
Now, my old district, I went and got it, and that gave me permission to give it to you myself. And at a board meeting, I cut out about a 15-minute slice of time at a
Well,
board
let's do
meeting. And I gave it to the board members.
Right.
And that was
Better
No, that's a no-go?
retreat that I could think of.
Good, we like that.
I like that idea.
So maybe at the September meeting, we'll pull out a little bit of time, and we'll just do that, okay? And I can just get it done.
Yeah, there you go. Does
As long as you're okay with it. If you're not okay with it, we can
Gosh. That's
I can do
okay.
that.
Do you have time for that?
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Don't take on, more.
No,
Get more out of
We
it, you
start like
present it.
tonight
Yeah.
at half an hour.
Could we do
totally
that, could we do that before, like, 6:15 and then the board meeting? Could we do that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Let me look at this stuff again,
Yeah,
and I'll see
yeah.
how long it is.
Don't want to put you on the spot.
No, I'm fine, I would, it's no problem at all.
Phyllis will
I
pay
know,
for something really nice.
Yeah, you have nothing else to
Yeah.
do.
No problem.
Awesome, that's great. All right, does anyone have any other board member items? If not, do we need to take a break or? We need to take a break. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break to do whatever we need to do online. And then we're going to go into executive session for the purposes of
Teacher negotiation.
teacher negotiations.
Listen, I like this.
That looks better to us, Chad.
Does it? I was gonna, Phyllis yelled at me last night, but I had a hat on and sunglasses.
Only at